Incredible act revealed, Black Maid's heartwarming sacrifice saves dying son, sparking unexpected change in Willow Grove. Clara's heart raced as she scrubbed the hardwood floors of the Harrington mansion, each stroke of her mop a reminder of the mounting medical bills that loomed over her. She wiped the sweat from her brow, thinking of little Marcus. His cheeks were gaunt now, his laughter replaced by weary sighs. Every moment away from him felt like a betrayal, but she had to provide. Even in this predominantly white suburb, her devotion was a blend of grit and grace. The Harringtons were oblivious to her struggles, sipping their Chardonnay and planning charity events, blissfully unperturbed by the storm that raged inside Clara. But today, an unexpected conversation at the clinic shifted her world. "He needs an experimental treatment, Clara. It's pricey, nearly $50,000, the nurse whispered, her eyes glistening with empathy as she leaned in. Gasps echoed in Clara's mind. How could she ever afford that? Breathless, she returned to the Harringtons, the burden of hope and dread weighing heavily on her heart. Asking them for a loan felt impossible. What would they think of her? Their polite smiles and warm thank yous felt like a thin veneer over a chasm of preconceived notions and unspoken understanding of their differences. But desperation clawed at her, forcing her to reconsider the very people she had devoted her life to. Could a request for help breach the unspoken barriers that existed, or would it expose her vulnerability to their judgment? Days later, the Harringtons announced a lavish fundraising gala to support the community. Clara felt her heart quicken at the thought of stepping into their world, that glitzy parallel universe where wealth was a language, and she barely spoke a word. Yet, this might be her chance. Maybe her story could seep into that bubble, bend the prying eyes, and encourage them to see a mother rather than just a maid. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As she stood backstage, the murmurs of the crowd faded into a sea of gray noise. Clara felt her heart thunder against her ribs. Would anyone truly empathize? When her name echoed through the speaker, her throat went dry. She took a deep breath, stepping into the blinding light, fragments of hope sparking inside her. Thank you for inviting me, she began, her voice trembling but resolute. My son needs help, and I don't know where else to turn. But just as she spoke, a whisper from the audience cut through her words. Doubts flared, casting shadows over the room. Is she really someone we can trust? Snickers and furtive glances bounced through the crowd, sending chill bumps over her skin. Every gaze felt like 1,000 needles piercing her spirit, yet Clara stood taller, anchoring herself to the truth of her desperate plea. Here she was, bare and vulnerable, asking for what everyone deserved, compassion. She saw heads shake and judgments form, but she refused to back down. This was for Marcus. An uneasy silence weighed down the night, morphing into an unexpected storm of emotions and unresolved biases. Clara felt the air crackle with uncertainty. What would happen when the applause faded? Would they turn their backs, or would her courage ignite a spark of empathy within them? A tide shifted, leaving Clara standing on the precipice of hope and despair, the outcome hinging not just on her but on the hearts of those surrounding her. Would they open their eyes to see the truth she carried? Clara stepped back from the microphone, her chest heavy. The silence refused to lift, wrapping the room in a thick blanket of disbelief. She scanned the crowd, desperate for a familiar face, a glimmer of encouragement, something to anchor her in this sea of judgment. But all she met were indifferent stares, and she could feel her heart fraying at the edges. A voice called from the back, cutting through the tension, "Can you handle a fundraiser? Will you take our money and run?" The laughter that followed was like a punch in the gut. Clara's throat tightened. This wasn't just a request for money. It was her life on the line. "Please," she blurted, the emotion breaking through her professionalism. I'm just a mother trying to save her son. Marcus is sick, and I am running out of time. Her words hung in the air, a raw plea that pierced through the laughter, but it felt like trying to push a boulder uphill. Clara turned to the floor, forcing the tears away, refusing to let them fall. She practiced this moment 100 times in her head, but it hadn't prepared her for the cruelty lurking in the established norms of this world. Maybe it's time to leave, a voice murmured behind her. Desperation clawed at her chest. Did they really think she would walk away? The stakes were too high. Marcus needed her. A flicker of movement caught her eye. A woman stood up, her face a canvas painted with doubt but also flickers of something deeper, compassion. Clara squinted through the spotlight. You can't just let her go, the woman called out, her voice firm but trembling. You have to understand what she is asking for. The murmurs shifted, with some nodding in reluctant agreement. Clara felt a spark of hope ignite a small flame within her. Could it be? Were they starting to see the human beneath her uniform? But before she could let that thought sprout, a tall figure in a crisp suit stepped forward, wiping his mouth with a napkin. We need to be cautious with our contributions. It's hard to be sure of someone we don't know, he said, an impenetrable mask on his face. Then let me tell you about Marcus, Clara said, finding her voice stronger than she thought possible. He loves to sing. He dreams of being a firefighter one day, saving lives just like the heroes he sees on TV. But right now. Her voice faltered, but she pushed through. Right now, he is in pain and needs help. The tension in the room swelled as people exchanged glances, weighing her words against their preconceived notions. Clara willed them to feel what she felt, the grief that wrapped around her heart. 45, right? The woman from earlier murmured, her brow furrowed in thought. In 45 minutes, we report how much we've raised. That's enough time. Clara caught her breath, hope entwining with fear. She could see it now, an opening, a crack in the illusion. With each passing heartbeat, possibilities unfolded. But could she convince them even further? Would they rally, or retreat back into their comfort? A few hands went up in the audience, tentative but brave. I can help. Count me in. The voices seemed to build towards a crescendo as Clara's heart thudded in her chest. Hope bloomed and stretched toward a fragile future as she realized this was just the beginning. Yet, beneath the surface, doubt still lingered like a shadow. Would this moment lead to real change, or just reinforce the walls that divided them? As the crowd began to stir, Clara felt the weight of her journey. She stood on the edge of something monumental, her heart racing not just for herself, but for Marcus. Would they truly rise to her call, or was the chasm too wide to bridge? With the gala unfolding around her, Clara took a deep breath, feeling the flicker of possibility ignite into a blaze of determination. The night was far from over, and each passing moment could shift everything, but there was still one question left: would she find the strength to reveal the truth hidden inside her, or would the fear of judgment keep her silent? The emotions in the room quaked with uncertainty as Clara searched for a foothold amid the shifting tides of sympathy and skepticism. She could feel the energy morphing, a palpable charge that made her skin prickle. Then, as if the universe were whispering a secret, the woman who had stood up earlier stepped closer to Clara, bringing with her a resolve that seemed to echo Clara's own. We can't turn our backs on her. The woman declared, her voice gaining strength with every syllable. We all know the struggles of parenthood. Look at her. She is begging us to help. How can we sit here laughing when a child is suffering? Clara's heart quickened. The woman's words painted her own pain across the faces in the crowd, stirring a sea of emotions that she could almost touch. Clara held on to that glimmer of hope, and for a moment, the shadows of doubt retreated. Let us make it personal, Clara said, invigorated by the support. Marcus is just a boy. Can you imagine your own child in his place? What would you do? We have the power to change his outcome. The room resonated with a hush, punctuated only by the sharp intake of breath from several onlookers. She could see it, the wheels turning in their heads, the gears of empathy clicking into place. From the back, a man stood up, his brow creased but his intent clear. "I can donate," he said. "I might not have children of my own, but my niece is the light of my life. I'd do anything for her." An echo of agreement rippled through the crowd. Hands began to rise, one after another, like fireworks bursting against the night sky. Tunes of hope began to form, resonating from a place of shared humanity. Clara felt the tears brimming again, but this time, they were different. They were tears of gratitude, of recognition. "Let us do it!" Somebody shouted, their enthusiasm infectious. "Let us turn this night around." Clara's chest swelled, a mixture of disbelief and joy. With each word, each donation that rolled in, she felt the crushing weight of despair ease, if only slightly. It was as if the room were shedding its armor, sharing the vulnerability that came with love and loss. Just then, Clara noticed a figure slip away toward the exit, head downcast. It was the man in the crisp suit. A part of her wanted to call out, to pull him back into the warmth of the burgeoning community. Did he not understand the significance of the moment? But she let him go, tethered to the possibility that what was happening here might spark more than just money. It could ignite a chain of compassion. "Every dollar counts, but every moment counts even more," Clara declared, focusing on the crowd again. "Imagine us all banding together, making a real difference. This is our chance." The room erupted again, people rallying, shouting their pledges, their commitments. The atmosphere buzzed with a determination that felt intoxicating. Clara watched as the woman with compassion stepped forward once more, a glimmer of a plan forming in her mind. Just as the air was thick with excitement, Clara's phone buzzed in her pocket. It was a message from Marcus Doctor. Clara's heart sank like a stone. As she swiped her phone, the crowd's voices faded into a dull roar. The words on the screen blurred momentarily, but she couldn't shake off the urgency they carried. "Clara, critical decisions need to be made for Marcus soon. Time is running out." The optimism in the room felt like a fragile thread, one that could easily snap under the weight of her revelation. She was on the brink of reaching out to these people, these strangers who were turning into an unexpected lifeline. But time was a relentless beast lurking behind her. Feeling the gravity of her dual struggle, Clara raised her voice again, now trembling with deep vulnerability. "I need to tell you something vital," she began, a knot tightening in her throat. "It's about Marcus, and it's urgent." Would she find the strength to share her fears, or would silence weigh heavier than the hope in the air? Clara's voice wavered, barely escaping her lips. Anxiety twisted in her stomach as she scanned the room filled with eager faces. In this moment, she could only hope they would understand. She took a deep breath, the air thick with the mix of hope and fear. "Marcus, he needs a treatment that's not just costly but time-sensitive. We have, maybe a week before it's too late." The words poured out like a long-held confession, and with each syllable, she felt the atmosphere shift. Gasps rippled through the crowd, a collective intake of breath that seemed to echo a shared horror. Clara couldn't bring herself to look at their faces, not yet. The weight of her revelation pressed against her chest, making it hard to breathe. Yet, the room began to hum with a renewed urgency. "What kind of treatment?" A voice called out from the back, instinctively protective. "It's experimental," Clara answered, finally looking up. "But it's his only real chance. Insurance doesn't cover it, and without immediate funds, he won't get the chance to try it at all." Her heart raced as more hands shot up, fingers trembling at the edges of wallets and bags. "I'll help. How much do you need?" The words poured from a woman with kind eyes, igniting the fire of resolve once more. "Anything we can gather. We could reach out to more people who care." Another chimed in, each suggestion building on the last, feeding Clara's resolve. Slowly, Clara felt the first spark of her fear melting away into determination. She watched the sincerity blossom in each face. There was a palpable sense of community, a thread that connected them all: parenthood, empathy, the shared grief of watching a child suffer. "But if we're going to do this, we have to act fast," Clara continued, urgency bubbling in her tone. We need to cover medical expenses, and if we hit a certain goal, they'll allow him to get started, tomorrow. As she spoke, faces in the crowd transformed from uncertainty to fierce determination. Her heart lifted with every promise made, every situation transformed into action. A man came forward, his eyes shining with conviction. I can host a fundraiser. Me too. I have connections. Shouted another. Every second ticked by, amplifying the momentum growing in the room. Clara's emotions swung wildly from hopelessness to fervent belief in this community she had only just begun to know. While hope fluttered in her chest like a wild bird, she couldn't shake the image of the man in the crisp suit slipping away in unsettling shadow against the bright energy filling the space. Why had he left? Did he not feel the power of this collective resolve? Then, out of the corner of her eye, Clara caught movement. The woman who had first spoken was taking a seat beside her, determination etched on her face. Do you have a plan for the funds, Clara? She asked gently yet firmly. I'll set up a donation page online and share it widely. We can reach friends, family, anyone willing to contribute. Let us make it visible, the woman said. Let us make it impossible to ignore. The audience mumbled in agreement, excitement lacing the air as Clara felt a surge of adrenaline. They were coming together, she could feel it, this beautiful wave of change. Clara took a moment, breathing in deeply, feeling the warmth of their solidarity. Thank you. She exclaimed. It's a chance. If we act together, we can save him. Just then, Clara's phone buzzed again, the bright screen revealing a new message from Marcus. Doctor. We need to know if you've decided. Time is running short. A hush fell over the crowd as Clara stared at her phone. Could she muster the courage for this daunting journey ahead? Her heart raced, the seconds stretching into an eternity. She stood, poised to act, as a flood of emotions crashed over her. Will you stand with me? Clara asked, her voice shaky but determined. Will you help me save Marcus? Around her, every eye locked on hers, filled with a fierce determination. What she needed, what they all needed, was about to unfold in ways they couldn't yet imagine. Would they rise to the occasion, or would the shadows of uncertainty loom large once more? Clara's heart thundered in her chest as the crowd's collective gaze bore down on her. Time felt surreal, each second stretched like a taut string, ready to snap. She took a moment to gather her thoughts, realizing that the weight of so many lives rested in her hands. Okay, she said, her voice steadier than before. I'll set up the crowdfunding page right now. You all want to help. Let us turn that intention into action. The man who had first volunteered to host the fundraiser quickly pulled out his phone. I'll start a social media event immediately. We can rally local businesses to donate prizes, too. It can be a silent auction. Count me in for baked goods. A woman near the edge exclaimed, her eyes lighting up as she rattled off her skills. Cupcakes, cookies, you name it. The excitement in the room was palpable, a tangible energy that lifted Clara's spirits. Each suggestion flowed like a chain reaction, sparking enthusiasm and commitment among this diverse group of people. For perhaps the first time, she allowed herself to believe they were going to pull this off. Encouragement filled the air. Someone suggested partnering with local schools, another offered to share the event with her network, and more hands shot up as ideas flew. Let us make this a community effort. Someone shouted. Let us make it known that every dollar matters. Each individual spark felt like a personal gift to Clara, an affirmation that she was alone in this fight, but even amidst the optimism, Clara's mind gnawed at the reality of her situation. The image of the man in the crisp suit haunted her thoughts. Did he know something she didn't? Was there something coming that only he anticipated? Clara? The voice of the woman beside her snapped her back to the present. Do you have any idea how much it costs? She squeezed her eyes shut, desperate to hold the swirling thoughts at bay. I can find out, but it's in the tens of thousands, she finally replied, her voice barely above a whisper. Tension rippled through the crowd, and the enthusiasm dimmed slightly as they absorbed the figure. But then a voice, strong and unwavering, called out from the back, "And we will raise it. Look around, a single person won't solve this, but together, we can." Clara's heart soared again. This community, these people together, they could do the impossible. In the coming moments, time slipped away as they plotted and planned. Clara found herself deep in conversations with some of the volunteers, outlining details for the online campaign. Ideas buzzed around her, their shared energy building a fortress of hope. As they began assembling their plan, Clara felt tears prickle the corners of her eyes. In the face of despair, they were mobilizing into action. Each voice melded into a powerful chorus of determination. She could almost hear Marcus's laughter as she pictured him enjoying the simple pleasures of life, free from the shadow of illness. Then, just as Clara thought of taking a moment to collect herself, a backup notification pinged on her phone. One of her friends had shared the page already without her knowing. Scrolling through the comments, Clara's heart wet with gratitude as messages of support streamed in. Words of encouragement, offers of help poured in like a warm tide washing over her worries, but amidst it all, one comment caught her attention, a warning: "Is this truly what you want? Are you sure you can trust those people?" That simple message struck her like a bolt of lightning. She was quick to dismiss it, reminding herself of the incredible resolve she had seen. Yet doubt crept in, whispering insidious thoughts. Could she trust this group of strangers, or would her hope falter against betrayal? Clara swallowed hard, feeling the pressure mount again. Just as she lifted her head to speak, a hand shot up in a playful wave. A young girl, no more than 8, with bright eyes and a head full of curls, grinned at her. "Can I sell lemonade for Marcus?" The innocence of her question felt like a bomb. The shadows that had threatened to loom suddenly felt smaller. Clara smiled, warmth flooding her heart. "That's a brilliant idea. Let us get you started." And just like that, the tension melted away, igniting a vision of hope. Clara couldn't shake the doubt, but at that moment, with each person stepping forward, she felt a chance and opportunity for not just Marcus, but for her own spirit, to climb back to life. As momentum surged, Clara realized their journey had only just begun. Yet, deep down, she knew the path ahead was fraught with challenges. Would their determination stand strong against unseen forces? Would the community's light shine bright enough to fend off the shadows creeping closer? A haunting fear gripped her heart, but the laughter of children and the supportive voices around her gave her the courage she needed in this moment. What came next hinged on her resolve and theirs. Would they truly hold their ground when the winds of adversity blew harsh and cold? As the applause faded, Clara felt a new energy coursing through her veins. The little girl's innocent enthusiasm was infectious. "Let us do it!" Clara cheered, beaming at the girl, who bounced in excitement. She made a mental note to find a stand and lemonade supplies tomorrow. The crowd, galvanizing around that one idea, shared stories of their own fundraising efforts from years gone by. A woman spoke of a bake sale that ended with her winning the blue ribbon at the state fair, prompting laughter and camaraderie. Others chimed in, sharing snippets of their lives and their own struggles, their shared experiences weaving a tapestry of resilience. This wasn't just about raising money anymore, it was about building a community. Clara felt that warmth, a solid wall against the creeping fears that lurked at the edges of her mind. She could see Marcus's smile, hear his laughter, feel his playful nudges as they argue over the remote control. As the hours drifted on, they pieced together a plan. The fundraiser would be at the local community center, a hustle and bustle of joy and determination. They'd hold games, a silent auction, and guess the number of candies in a jar. Clara felt as if she were surfing waves of optimism, riding high on the crest. But the question lingered in the back of her mind: would it be enough? As they wrapped up their discussion, Clara stepped outside for a moment of air, the night sky unfurling above her. Stars twinkled like little beacons of hope. The cool breeze brushed her cheeks, bringing clarity. It reminded her of summers spent in her grandmother's yard, a poignant reminder of the strength of family. Suddenly, her phone buzzed. Without thinking, she checked it. It was a text from her neighbor, the one she'd shared her worries with just a few days before. Clara, I overheard someone at the grocery store talking about your fundraiser. They didn't seem supportive. Just thought you should know. Her heart sank like a stone. Doubt returned, heavy and unwelcome. Were their whispers already threatening to undermine everything they had worked for? Taking a deep breath, she pushed the phone back into her pocket. She couldn't think that way. She had seen true goodness in those around her tonight, and she needed to hold on to that light as tightly as she could. When she re-entered the community center, the atmosphere was electric. Chairs were being rearranged, tables set up for displays of baked goods, a projector ready to announce live updates on donations. Clara's heart swelled at the sight of people laughing and working together. Hey, Clara. The man who had first started the fundraiser approached her, his phone in hand. I just had the best idea. We should create a video kickoff. Highlight why this fundraiser matters, share your story, it might get even more attention. In that moment, Clara felt the whispers of doubt dissipate. This was it. This was the camaraderie that would lead them down the path of hope. With enthusiasm bubbling inside her, she responded confidently, let us do it. I'll share my story. Together, we'll spark this community. But deep down, the nagging question still echoed in her mind, what if they didn't raise enough money? What if the bond they were building cracked under the pressure of reality? The stakes were high, and the vulnerability weighed heavily on her heart. As the night wore on, Clara stayed focused, determined to keep pushing forward. Yet the undercurrents of unease persisted, flickering at the edges of her thoughts. The shadows were lurking, and she couldn't shake the feeling that someone or something was watching. Would the community stand against adversity, or would doubt fight back like a hidden enemy? Clara took a step closer to that crowd of laughter, but an unsettling question formed in the pit of her stomach. What truths were lying beneath the surface, ready to be uncovered? The next day arrived with enthusiasm crackling in the air. Clara woke early, her mind buzzing with ideas for the fundraiser. She could already envision the sweet smell of fresh lemonade wafting through the community center, mingling with the laughter of children and the chatter of friends. This was going to be special. As she prepared her lemonade stand later in the day, Clara couldn't shake the whispers from last night. Her neighbor's text replayed over and over in her mind, dulling her excitement. She brushed off the doubts, promising herself that she wouldn't let negativity slip in. Their efforts would drown out any naysayers. At the community center, the decorations were vibrant, streamers swaying gently above the tables. Clara joined the team setting up, her hands busy but her heart on the edge of apprehension. There was Rick, the man with the great ideas, capturing moments with his camera. He shared snippets of press clips about the video kickoff, showcasing how other communities had rallied together, igniting hope with their stories. Clara. He called, gesturing her over. Check this out. His screen showed videos of fundraisers across town, people connecting over shared struggles, hope illuminating their path. Her heart swelled as she watched, feeling the warmth spread within her. This was what they were aiming for. This was community. Organizing the activity stations took longer than expected, laughter bubbling up as they debated on game ideas, making sure each one carried a personal touch. Clara found herself mingling with the crowd, sharing stories, and receiving encouragement. Each hug and every laugh soaked into her spirit, washing away the residue of doubt. But then, amidst the whirlwind of preparations, the door swung open. Clara turned to see a familiar face, her ex-best friend, Sarah, standing there, her brows knit in discontent. Clara's stomach twisted. Hey, Clara, Sarah said, her voice surprisingly flat. I heard you're raising money. I just wanted to see what all the fuss is about. Clara hesitated, the warmth around her slowly receding. The memories of shared childhood dreams danced briefly in her mind before being replaced by the sharp bite of their fallout. Hey, Sarah. We're hoping to help my son, Marcus. She held Sarah's gaze, trying to read her expression, bracing for judgment. For a lemonade stand? Sarah's tone dripped with skepticism. Not just that. It's more than money. It's about community. Clara's voice trailed off as she sensed the walls Sarah had erected between them. A flicker of understanding crossed Sarah's face, but it vanished just as quickly. Good luck, then, she said, turning away. Clara watched as the door closed behind her, a weight settling back onto her shoulders. With a jolt, Clara reminded herself not to let old wounds reopen. She turned away, forcing herself back to the chaos of the fundraiser. She scrolled through her phone, searching for encouraging messages. In her quest, she found the group chat filled with pictures of volunteers painting signs, bags full of donated candies, and a flurry of texts all affirming their spirit. They may have been a ragtag team, but they were standing together for a cause bigger than all of them. The day wore on, the laughter echoing through the center, even as her heart continued to heavy. At the end of the night, Clara would stand before everyone, sharing her own story, brittle yet hopeful. Yet, as the sun dipped below the horizon, she couldn't shake the feeling that something was looming on the edge of it all. Was this truly just the start of a united community, or would old grudges rear their ugly heads again? Clara gripped the frame of the lemonade stand tightly, feeling her resolve teeter dangerously close to the edge of fear. Would the community rise together, or would the shadows reclaim their influence? The question hung silently in the air as she prepared to take the stage. Clara's heart raced as she took a deep breath, stepping to the front of the crowd. The hum of excitement faded, leaving a palpable tension in the air. Faces lit up by the soft glow of string lights looked back at her, some familiar, some not. She could see tears in some eyes, and others sparkled with laughter, but all were expectant. She clutched the edges of the table behind her for support, willing herself to shake off the lingering unease from Sarah's visit. Thank you all for being here today, she began, her voice wavering slightly before growing steadier. This means more than I can express. The crowd shifted, their attention locked onto her. I started this fundraiser not just for my son, Marcus, but for every child in our community who needs a little extra love and support. She could feel the warmth of shared purpose rising in the air. We're here to show that when we unite, we're stronger. Together, we can make an impact. A ripple of murmurs spread through the audience, and Clara noticed a few nodding along, hope shining in their eyes. As she spoke, she recounted tales of struggles and triumphs, her voice growing louder with each word. She shared Marcus's story, his laughter, his dreams, the obstacles he faced. He deserves to be happy, she said, her voice breaking, but she pressed on, we all do. Happiness isn't something we just find. It's something we build with each other's help. Laughter erupted as Clara recounted a funny incident involving Marcus and lemonade gone awry, a lemonade stand that almost turned into a sticky fiasco with a few neighborhood kids. The audience laughed heartily, and Clara felt their joy wrap around her like a comforting blanket, warming her spirit, but just as Clara began to feel the flow of connection, she caught a glimpse of Sarah slipping back into the community center. Clara's heart hiccuped with uncertainty, memories flooding her mind. Would Sarah remember the struggles they faced together? Would she see the love stitched into the fabric of this community? Clara's eyes darted between her friend and the gathering audience, trying to catch Sarah's gaze, but the woman's expression remained unreadable. Clara pushed the thought aside. This wasn't about the past. Everyone, I believe we can do this. Together, we can raise enough to help Marcus and so many others. She raised her hands, palms up. Applause began to swell, carrying Clara forward. Just then, the door creaked open wider and amidst the crowd, Alex, the new volunteer she hadn't noticed before, walked in holding a large box. I brought snacks for everyone. Alex shouted, his voice infectious, sparking a wave of enthusiasm. Clara grinned as excitement rippled through the crowd again. The atmosphere crackled with possibilities. Each act of kindness, every small effort stacked like bricks in the foundation they were building together. They were no longer divided, they were a tapestry woven with shared stories and hopeful dreams, but shadows still lingered in the back of Clara's mind. Was this unity truly real? Or would the past's echoes continue to haunt them, undermining their efforts? As the evening dove deeper into laughter and connection, Clara couldn't shake the feeling that the real test was yet to come. Would all this love and support withstand the challenges ahead? As she looked over her community, faces glowing with hope, uncertainty tugged at her heart. What would happen when the true measure of their unity was called into question? The lingering uncertainty danced just beneath the surface, a question that hung silently in the vibrant air as the night promised both joy and trials ahead. Clara watched as Alex began distributing snacks, a palpable wave of enthusiasm spreading through the crowd once more. The simple act of sharing brought faces together, laughter mingling with the swaying glow of the string lights. She felt her heart lift a little higher, the shadows retreating. "Here, everyone!" Alex called, his easy smile infectious as he handed out treats. "Nothing like some cookies to fuel our fundraising efforts." As people reached for the homemade cookies and chips, conversation sprang up, laughter and excitement bubbling over. It was easy to forget the worries when surrounded by this kind of warmth, but Clara's heart still tugged at her thoughts. She stole another glance at Sarah, who had huddled in the back, seemingly lost in her world. Clara's pulse quickened. Should she reach out? After everything, it felt like a risk a fragile bridge over water that had once been turbulent. But this event wasn't just about her, it was about mending connections. Clara hesitated before slowly stepping away from the table, determination igniting her steps as she made her way toward Sarah. The murmurs of joy faded in the background, replaced by the drumming of her heart. "Hey, Sarah," Clara said softly, standing a few feet away like a hesitant child, unsure if she would be met with warmth or withdrawal. Sarah looked up, surprise flickering across her features. "Clara," she replied, her tone careful, digging into Clara's old fears. "I'm glad you came." There was so much left unspoken between them. Clara swallowed, willing the lump in her throat to dissolve. "I know things have been tough. I miss you." For a brief moment, Sarah's walls seemed to quiver. Her eyes glistened, and for a heartbeat, it felt like the past melted away, letting them stand together in camaraderie. "I miss you too." The moment hung heavy, a fragile truth suspended in the air between them. Clara took a step closer, her breath merging with the laughter around them. "This is all bigger than us." "I know," Sarah whispered, glancing back at the crowd, unsure. "I just don't know how to help. I'm scared I'll mess it up again." A wave of compassion flooded Clara's heart. "We've all stumbled," she said gently. "But this time, we're in it together. Let us shake off the past. Let us focus on Marcus and the love we have to give." Their eyes met, and in that moment, Clara saw Sarah's vulnerability. Not just her friend's struggles, but a reflection of her own fears, vulnerabilities, and the hope that flickered within. The tension unsettled between them eased just a little, the air softening. Returning to the group felt imminent, yet Clara couldn't shake the feeling that a new challenge lurked ahead. The laughter and unity stirred around her, but dark clouds, remnants of old divisions, hovered just out of sight. What would happen when past grievances resurfaced? When confrontations threatened to undo what they were building? As Clara observed the crowd, a newfound resolve bubbled in her chest. They were fighting for Marcus, but they were also fighting for their community, for healing, for understanding, for each other. They needed to fortify this foundation. With that thought, Clara turned back to Sarah. "Let us work through this together. We owe it to ourselves, and to Marcus." In that renewed understanding, hope flickered, but the shadows were still there, waiting. Would they be strong enough to withstand the storms that threatened to tear them apart? As the countdown to the fundraiser's key event approached, Clara knew the time was drawing near for the real test. What awaited could either unite or divide them, and as she took a deep breath, she prepared her heart for what was to come. As the evening unfolded, Clara felt a renewed sense of purpose surging within her. The laughter, the camaraderie, the united spirit of the community enveloped her like a warm embrace. She looked around at the faces of those who had come, their smiles lighting up her darkness, and for the first time in a long while, hope ignited within her. "Okay, everyone," she shouted, her voice ringing clearly over the buzzing excitement. "It's time for the main event, the live auction. Let us raise some funds for Marcus." The crowd erupted in cheers, a palpable energy vibrating in the air. Clara's heart raced as hands clapped and feet stomped in encouragement. Rick, the man who sparked the initial journey of this fundraiser, stepped up next to her, holding a microphone. "We have some amazing items to auction off tonight, all generously donated by local businesses." He began to read off the list: a signed baseball, dinner vouchers, handmade crafts, and more. Clara felt the strength of her community behind her, rallying for a cause larger than themselves. As the bidding began, Clara watched with tears in her eyes. The numbers climbed steadily, each outbid coming with shouts and applause. After each winning bid, the crowd erupted in laughter and enthusiasm, proving that they were unified by a powerful drive to help. With each paddled bid, Clara's heart swelled with gratitude. "Let us keep the momentum going, everyone. Let us do this for Marcus," she called out, her voice cracking with emotion. And just as she spoke, another familiar face appeared in the crowd. It was the man in the crisp suit, James Harrington, the owner of the mansion where she worked. Clara's heart fluttered between recognition and apprehension. What would he think of this moment? Would he slip back into the shadows of judgment, or could he become a beacon of support? Waving his hand, James cut through the crowd, stepping forward with a burst of confidence. Clara felt tense. What would he say? "I just got wind of this amazing auction and I want to raise the stakes," he called out. Murmurs filled the room, and Clara could see eyes widening. "Tonight, I want to donate 10,000 towards Marcus's treatment." The crowd erupted into gasps and applause. Clara couldn't believe her ears. An avalanche of emotion washed over her. "And not just that," James continued, his voice resounding through the hall. "I'll personally match every dollar raised tonight up to another 10,000. The warmth flooded Clara's heart, tears streaming down her cheeks. It felt like winter melting into spring. The barriers of their differences shifted as hundreds of enthusiastic voices stirred in echoing support. "Together, we can save him." Hands pumped in unison as the energy surged. Clara found herself at the center of it all, surrounded by arms wide open, hearts embracing. Rick grabbed the microphone again, brimming with excitement. "Let us do this. Are we ready to match James's generosity? Let us raise this money." The crowd eagerly nodded, their unity undeniable. They were sharing not just resources but their hopes, their commitments, their love. With the momentum building, Clara stepped forward, her throat tight with overwhelming gratitude. This right here, shows what community should look like. We're not just strangers, we're a family fighting for each other. She felt the collective breath of anticipation. You've opened your hearts, and you've chosen to prove that love knows no color, no barriers, no limitations. Together, we are stronger. Cheers erupted once again. Clara took a moment to catch her breath, each pulse of excitement mingling with her tears of relief. But then, just as the spirit of unity reached its peak, she glanced toward Sarah, who was standing nearby. The weight of the past still lingered between them, unresolved tensions, hurtful memories exchanged. Clara's heart thudded, the familiar drip of doubt returning. Would their community's kindness hold? Could Sarah step back into the fold, or would resentment resurrect itself from the ashes? Before she could dwell any longer, Clara noticed hands rapidly raising in the air to pledge more. "I'll donate." "Me too." "Count me in." Voices of support filled the room, each donation carving a new path toward healing. It was transforming the very narrative they had been tangled within. "Let us work together, everyone." Clara shouted into the microphone, disbelief and awe mixing in her chest. "Let us unite for Marcus." The energy surged. People began sharing their own stories of hardship, their struggles, and triumphs, blurring the lines that had once separated them. The numbers climbed. The goal of 50,000 was within reach. Clara could see the crowd's hope turning into reality. With each dollar, they constructed a bridge of love, one that reached across the years of silence and division. In the final moments of the auction, Clara raised her arm high, surrendering all fear, ready to embrace possibility. "Let us do this one last time." With voices nearly drowning out the building music, the community rallied, breathing life into dreams. Together. And as James's challenge echoed through the air, Clara was floored. This was not merely an event. This blossomed into a legacy that sparked change. The final summation of donations arrived, announcing their grand total, a staggering amount eclipsing their initial goal. A wave of joy surged over Clara, an eruption of applause as people jumped to their feet, celebrating not just financial success, but the transformation of a community. As the night waned, Clara stood at the forefront, her eyes glistening with tears of joy. She could feel the hearts of those she stood with. They bore witness to the strength of compassion and hope, a shimmering banner against the darkness she once knew. Each face in the crowd looked back at her with adoration, pride, and ghostly traces of former divides melting away. As Clara glanced around, her eyes found Sarah, who was grinning, hands clasped together, no longer a burden but a friend. "I'm in this with you," Sarah said softly, stepping closer. Clara nodded, her heart lighting up. The shadows had faded, leaving warmth in their place. In a bittersweet embrace of truth, Clara knew this was just the beginning. Together, they had pushed through resentment, doubts, and fear, forging a bond stronger than any preconceived notion. As she wiped away her tears, Clara looked out into the vibrant community before her, filled with compassion, empathy, and an undying commitment to each other. This was family, and in this moment, she was ready to face whatever came next, for love had claimed its rightful place in Willow Grove. Now, as Clara's heart swelled with determination, she could feel a change was possible. And the real challenge was ahead, building upon this victory and ensuring Marcus's story became a beacon not just for their fight, but for everyone who saw the light in humanity. This is the moment for you to join the journey. Subscribe immediately to not miss the next exclusive stories that will inspire and uplift. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm, helping us grow this community. Comment below with your reactions and feelings about the ending. Share this video instantly with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. You need to support this channel. Don't wait not even one more second. Your actions matter more than you know.